Have you back. Last night was a historic night, a presidential debate between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. And you posed this question for Democrats. Do we acknowledge the complicated politics of our party and change horses, or crawl back under the covers and pretend it was all a bad dream? What's the answer to that after you see Joe Biden's performance last night?
Brittany, last night there's no sugarcoating this. It was an unmitigated disaster. I mean, from start to finish. And I wrote about this in a piece in the Daily Beast where, literally within minutes of the debate starting, I was getting text messages across my phone, from Democrats in New York and California and swing states all saying, this is an unmitigated disaster. And what do we do? And the only way to change perception is with reality. And the problem is the perception of the electorate is that Joe Biden is too old. And in poll after poll, we see that that is a greater concern to the American public than the fact that Donald Trump is a convicted criminal. And so last night, he had one thing that he had to do, which was present to the extent that he could energetic. There needed to be color in his face. He needed to be coherent. He needed to land a punch or two. And he not only didn't do any of those things, he was dawdling. His mouth was open, agape, almost as if they didn't tell him he was going to be on a split screen. And it just, at a certain point, it felt almost mean. And so, there's a lot of talk this morning amongst the Democratic Party, a very high circle saying, what now? And the problem is, given where we are in the calendar, I don't know that there's an answer.
I just got off a conversation with a political strategist political scientist rather, and they said the mood isn't gloating if you're a Republican. The mood is an all around sorrow. I mean, he said when you watched that, you couldn't help but feel bad for Joe Biden. And I had lifelong Democrats texting me last night telling me, hey, I voted for Hillary Clinton. I voted for Joe Biden in 2020. I'm watching this. I have to turn it off. And I cannot vote for Donald Trump, but I cannot, in good conscience, vote for Joe Biden. What do you think about that?
Look, we already had an enthusiasm gap issue, I think, especially after the Trump conviction. And we saw that in the New York Times Siena poll a couple of days ago. We saw it in the Q poll that dropped where he was picking up national steam. And what you're seeing is the Republican Party was solidifying behind him in a way that you're not seeing the Democratic Party do with Biden. And I think after last night, what your friend or what the person who was just on expressed to you is, I think, exactly what's happening. I think people are saying, I cannot in good conscience go pull the lever for Joe Biden. And we are still a country that needs to have a leader that is cogent, coherent, can lead. And after last night's performance, that was all, thrown in doubt. And I agree with you that I think that there is even the cover of the New York Post, notorious tabloid. I was waiting to see what kind of sort of gratuitous shot they were going to take. And this morning, their front page was like, this is sad. And I'll tell you, the feeling amongst the Democrats I'm talking to is also a lot of anger, because there are a lot of people in the Democratic Party who feel that the people in the White House and people like Chuck Schumer and others, cabinet secretaries, have been lying to Democrats at very high levels about what's going on behind closed doors.